The Trinity is three who's, one what. It's the nature. Right. So it's not like Jesus is the God the Son, then all of a sudden he switches over to God the Father. Right. He's not praying to himself in the garden. He's praying to a person. Now I'm not talking human, but another person within that makes up the triune Godhead. And that's why like when you get into Genesis 1, you see the Word. The Word spoken into existence. The Spirit moved over the face of the waters. Let us make man in our own image.
In our own image, correct. Well, see, a lot of people don't know, but in Genesis 1, the Word, it says, in the beginning, God created the heavens and the earth. The word that's used interchangeably throughout the Bible is the word Elohim. The word,
plural.
You're right. The word Elohim is Hebrew plural from Elohoah, and Elohoah is the singular God. And in fact, in the Ten Commandments, the very first commandment, "Thou shalt have no other gods before me." The word used for gods there is Elohim. So really, it's now there are times whenever it's referred to. Lord God, or Jehovah, or what
Jehovah's Yahweh.
Yeah,
it's not even really a word.
Hold up. You're going to challenge him on the fact that nobody actually heard anything that Jesus said in the garden, but you're not going to challenge him on the fact that the stuff that God literally said before anyone else was around to hear it was heard properly?
Well, that's...
hold up.
Right, that's...
Wait, hold on.
You're right.
Hold on. Let's just think about this logically. Hold on, let's just think about this logically for a moment. If there is a God who can create the entire world out of nothing, don't you think that he can find some way to communicate what YouTube. That event looked like?
Like, why didn't he fucking wait till YouTube?
Right, just
but
like...
I'm not in this conversation. Yeah, it's
I guess
totally out there.
What I'm trying to tell you is, even if it were on YouTube, you would still reject it. It would be fudge. Somebody would have made it up. It would. There's always a reason not to believe if you want to not believe.
Have you seen how far they've come with like video of like faking Obama saying stuff?
Oh, I mean,
have you seen that? Like, I can't even really trust YouTube anymore. But
you're making my point for me.
But at least
keep coming. Come on.
It exists. Like why didn't God just wait?
Well, yeah, I mean,
why does it have to be some apocryphal book with a bunch of stories?
God chose
be sometime.
God chose to appear to less than 1% of the world's population in southern Judea 2,000 years ago. Less than 1%. And at that time, there were people living all over the world. These people have not heard God's message. And as a matter of fact, they would live many generations after the death of Christ, after salvation, and not know.
All right, that's actually two things in one. First of all, the fact that when he did it, and you say, okay, well, why didn't he do it now? Well, think about when Christ came. You had the Roman Empire. You actually have a unified language that was spoken by the majority of the people in the world.
And that goes against modern day science. That's a biblical claim.
I don't think it's a biblical. My source was not biblical. I get that from as far as the Koine Greek. It was a common language.
Are you referring to ancient Babylon?
No.
Tower of Babel.
No. I'm not. No, okay. I'm making no reference to that whatsoever. No, my whole point is when in history, why did God choose that time? And when you look at it, when you take into consideration that's a time in which the gospel could have been. If it had been prior to that time, then you're talking about having to teach people a whole different language just to be able to communicate the message. The message was much easier communicated when you had this uniform language that the vast majority of people are speaking. And so therefore, it makes really perfect sense. And then, if he would have waited till now, so where are we looking at? How many human years of history?
But what you're arguing is that the expedience that illiteracy that literacy provided to these people helped them spread their message faster. But yet in today's day, that message would be translated much more clearly, much more concisely.
Yeah.
And there wouldn't be people around the earth who hadn't heard the word.
No, it wasn't even so much literacy. It's just that everyone's speaking the same language. Because when we start talking about reading and writing, we're
right.
talking about a whole
but now
issue.
I don't know about you. I scroll through. I have friends from all over the world. I scroll through my Facebook feed, and I see a little bit on the bottom that says "See translation." And I know exactly what they're saying.
And we can do that today with the Bible.
Right. So what I'm saying is,
but how many people have? But how many people lived from first century AD to today, versus that same time span? If
prior,
you went backwards,
we're talking. So you see close to 100,000 years.
You see explosion of people during this time period,
right?
And that's when it's like God sent Jesus right at this time of where you're going to have this massive explosion.
But wait. You realize that on this timeline, from the dawn of man until the time that Jesus arrived, is about that far, and then we are about right here. Yeah. Humans have existed for 100,000 years. We're only talking about 2,000 years. We're talking about only 20% of the generations of humans that have ever lived know about Jesus. So we're talking. Like you're talking about. If a God is so perfect, are you telling me that language did not exist prior to that, or that the language wasn't sufficient enough that all those people just had to die because God couldn't teach them how to talk?
Well, and this goes into the second part, because I said, you brought up two things. And the second part is, how do people know? And Romans chapter 1 gives us the answer to that. And that's that God has revealed himself. And so I think that, after all, if he's God, this isn't impossible, that for those who are willing to believe, those who would like to know, God's going to provide a way. In fact, even in Acts chapter 17, Paul's there on the Areopagus. He's speaking to the Epicureans and the Stoics. And he says, that basically the time of our birth has not been by accident. And the placement of where we live is not by accident. So you got to understand, what Paul's saying there is, if I had been born to non-believers in Afghanistan, I still would have ended up a Christian. And if you had been born to Billy Graham, if you were Billy Graham's grandson, you'd still be an atheist.
So would you say that you're a Calvinist?
No.
No? Mm-mm. But yet you believe in predestination?
I believe in the sovereignty of God.
Okay, you believe in the sovereignty of God, like the whole kind of a Coke can in the ocean analogy? You can't fit the whole knowledge of Christ into a Coke can that's our brain, just like the vastness of the ocean or whatever.
I've never heard that particular analogy. Right. But the fact is I believe in God's sovereignty, but I also believe in the free will of man.
You believe in the free will of man.
So now,
is it? Yeah, exactly. So you would have had the will growing up in that family. Say you grew up in a Muslim family. Mm-hmm. You never knew about Christianity. You would feel just as strongly about your Islamic beliefs as you do currently about your Christian beliefs.
Well, now you're getting really close to making a genetic fallacy. Just because you grow up in one group, you grew up in a Christian family, but you're not a Christian. Right. So that just kills the point.
No.
Because you still have to look at percentages.
Not at all. Well, you have to look at percentages. You have to look at indoctrination. I struggled to lose Christianity. I struggled. Yeah. It wasn't something that came easy, and it's not something that comes to every Christian. But what does come to every Christian is indoctrination. At some point, a child is born without belief, and until that child is taught what to believe, that child is an atheist.
Now, I'd just like to point out.
Well, now you're making.
You admitted that you grew up in a Christian environment, and here you are suddenly being super duper Christian. As somebody who maybe, if you considered the idea that you grew up completely agnostic, and given the arguments that you have said that God exposed himself to us. That sounds naughty. Given the idea that
it's okay. God doesn't have a body, so you're okay.
God revealed himself to us at the time when God was most, when it was most appropriate. And hold on. Just let me finish real fast. Would you say that the most numerous religion now is the most true religion because it is the one that has revealed itself to be the most true? And if not, why is Christianity still better than that most numerous religion?
Okay, couple things. First of all, not so much that God revealed himself at the coming of Christ. That's when Christ came at that pivotal point in human history.
Right.
the second part of that.
It had already been prophesied before. The idea.
Well, according to the people who wrote the same book that we don't really believe in.
Right.
Well,
right.
it's actually a collection of books. It's not one book.
The idea of a God already existed. The Jewish people already believed in the God, and they prophesied the coming Messiah.
Yeah.
And then there was now you stacked like a couple of things on top of there.
Okay, so if God revealed Himself to us at the appropriate time, then I would feel personally. I don't know how you feel, but I would feel that the most numerous religion now is probably the religion that God intended to be the right one, because it was the one that reached the most people. And given that you probably already realize that I know which religion is the most numerous, and it's not Christians, what do you feel about like that? Like obviously, if that was God's intention, He fucked up.
Well, yeah, but that's a very problematic way. I mean, we don't judge if truth is truth based on how many people think it's true.
That goes back to the whole sovereignty of God. Basically, you don't if you believe that God is sovereign, you believe that God has His own will, and that we're not necessarily meant to understand it or comprehend it. It's beyond human comprehension, basically.
Okay,
is what they.
But again, I mean, think about some of our greatest scientific discoveries. It's generally not the consensus. But it's those couple of outliers who go, no, I think the world is round. And then no, I think this is a sphere. I mean, it's going back to like Galileo and whatnot. It's that idea.
But at one point,
so we don't judge truth based on. It's not an election. It's not a popularity contest.
See, I had to disagree, because yes, that is how it initially starts. But in the end, the truth gains the consensus always. That you won't find very many people that will argue with you about the existence of gravity. Or even about around Earth, for that matter. I mean, they now granted the Flat Earth Society that has members all over the globe. They have
all over the globe.
Yeah,
no bias.
But people like that, from these fringe groups, they have with the aid of technology made a name for themselves and a platform, and unfortunately, people give them attention, like I just did. So I mean, eventually the truth does become consensus. In fact, whenever Charles Darwin proposed the theory of evolution, many scientists disagree with him.
You say the truth becomes consensus?
No, I'm sorry. The truth gains the consensus eventually. Evolution, for example, among the scientific community, the majority of scientists believe in evolution, and they operate as if it's truth, just like they would with any other scientific theory.
Well, I mean that's probably a discussion for a whole nother show.
Oh, I'm sure.
But again, just because the consensus believes something to be true doesn't necessarily make that true.
Tell me about it.
I could not agree more.
I mean, we all agree.
Because I mean, look at right now the numbers that are out there is Christianity still the leader of the clubhouse at 33%. Now I disagree with that. I think Islam is probably the leader, because all those deals are based on self-report. So people who I would say fall well outside, what I would define as Christianity.
Right. And I would have to say the same for non-religious. I believe the current number on that is like 23% of people who claim no religion, or they call them nuns. I believe that number to be a lot higher. But what you were saying is that the consensus doesn't like you said, just because they have the consensus does not necessarily mean that it is true, and that is, like I said, that is part of the process. Eventually, the truth will gain the consensus. It's all about spreading the idea, educating people on the truth. If people aren't educated on it, they're not going to accept it. Take, for instance, Bruno. Bruno was a student of Galileo, and he was burned at the stake by the church for supporting the heliocentric model.
Heliocentric meaning
heliocentric meaning that the Earth revolves around the sun.
Okay.
So I mean. And now the Catholic Church has obviously accepted the fact that we do in fact revolve around the sun. So it's just another example that even though persistence does not mean truth. And
sure, yeah, I agree with that.
Yeah, but I do believe that in the end, when the truth comes out, the truth does gain the consensus, and it's proved itself that way many, many times.
But what if that truth is going to force you to live your life in a way that you don't want to live it?
Tell me about it.
Yeah.
Holy cow!
Yeah,
you just hit the nail on the head.
Absolutely. I've thought many times, what if I'm wrong, and what if one day, God was to reveal Himself to me? What would I do? Would I accept it or what? But then you're operating on what ifs. Mm-hmm. But I mean, just using my current situation, my current beliefs or non-beliefs as it is, most of the truths that I believe tend to be the consensus.
Yeah.
Or tend to have the consensus.
Yeah, like I feel that there's a fairly common pushed across is like, what if you're wrong, atheist? What if you're wrong?
Yeah.
So what if you're wrong?
That's the right question.
That's a good question.
Yeah. What if you're wrong? Like, what if there is no God and all this stuff just was wrong?
And you're asking the right question, because I think it's like when you go into seasons of doubt, you have to say, well, what if I'm right, but what if I'm wrong? Mm-hmm. And if I'm wrong, then I need to change my position. Mm-hmm. I need to resign my position, and I need to go get another job. I mean, just to be really honest with you.
But you can't know until you're dead.
Well, I mean, that seems like a really good Christian argument. Yeah, it doesn't seem like a very good atheist argument.
No, there's a lot more there.
Well, it's like the difference between agnostic, Gnostic, and theist and atheist. One is a belief claim and one is a knowledge claim. A person can be a Christian with the belief that there is an afterlife, but without claiming knowledge of an afterlife.
So that's a deep thing you just said. Gnostic atheist means that you know there is no God.
Right.
Agnostic atheist means you think there is no God, but you're still open to the idea.
Right, absolutely. And you have that on the other side too, although there tend to be less agnostic theists than Gnostic theists. But there are many theists out there who say, yes, I believe that there is a God, and I believe in Jesus. I believe Jesus is the Son of God, and I believe Jesus died for our sins.
Fuck off.
But I don't know for sure.
Okay. I just wanted to make sure that anyone, like I said, I don't know what everybody's watching understands about all these words.
Right.
I just don't want anyone to be like, what the fuck did he just say? Yeah. And like miss something. So
if you don't know, you should be ashamed of yourself.
Yeah.
No, I'm just kidding.
I think that I agree with Jim on this one in that it's like we said at the very beginning of the first segment, and that none of us can be 100% certain, and I think that's a key aspect that we have to look at is we can't be 100% certain. So as a Christian, I'm at this point in my life, I can now say that I am a Christian based on following the evidence where it led me. Now, I couldn't say that when I was 11, 12, 13, 14, 18, 19, 20. It wasn't until I got older and actually really started questioning and digging deeper into, like, wait, hold on, what if this isn't true? And then after an investigation of that evidence, I feel confident to put my trust, also called faith, but I'm putting my trust in that what I have looked at is true, and I feel confident in that. Now, is there a chance that I could still be wrong? Well, yeah, absolutely. Yeah. But at the end, after I've evaluated the evidence on not just the atheist versus Christian side, but I mean the ministry I work for, we focus on cults, the occult, New Age spirituality, counterfeit Christianity, world religions. I've written, I've been published on Sikhism, Jainism, Zoroastrianism. These are things that we look at, and so I haven't just examined it from these two, but I've looked at the others and gone, wait, hold on, this worldview makes the best sense of reality. Now, does that mean I have no other questions? Absolutely not. That means I still have questions.
Okay. So the God model that you believe in, I'm sure that you know that the word Elohim and the whole creation model was originally Mesopotamian.
In terms of
in terms of man-made from global floods, the fall of man, things along that line. It's about 1,000 years old. The records that we have, 1,000 years precede any remnants we have of Genesis.
Oh, okay, yeah. In terms of, I don't quite.
Right. So basically, what I'm saying is that they follow the same model, right?
Yeah.
So you have.
Oh, okay. Oh, you're talking. Okay, I see what you're saying.
Right.
Yeah. So you're saying we see this common theme of there's this. I mean, we go in South America and we're looking at these cave drawings, and there's evidence that they're trying to say there was some kind of worldwide flood, and this group saying there's some kind of worldwide flood. Is that what you're referring to?
Well, yeah, but I'm more referring to
a concept of God.
Well, yeah, but I'm more referring to the fact that there are older accounts of creation and older accounts of global flood than the one in the Bible. So I guess my and most of them are polytheistic, polytheistic religions. They believe in multiple gods, although most of them tend to have a main god. So what leads you to believe that these older accounts aren't the original God?
Well, you just have to investigate them further. Unfortunately, I think that'd be a really long answer, and we'd have to go specifically.
That's pretty far for how far we've come, and I know that you really have something you want to explore here, and I don't necessarily know if we have any more
maybe we
time
can do it
for
another time.
Yeah, definitely.
But yes, Brady, thank you so much for coming. What do you want people to know in the internet world? Plugs. Who are you? Just real fast.
First, I guess we'll do the plug. My name is Dr. Brady Blevins, and I watch the Atheist Edge. Also, I am the senior apologist at Watchman Fellowship. That's Watchman, WATCHMAN.org. Come check us out on the web. We meet the first Friday of every month at our office. We have the Atheist Christian Book Club. We'd like to invite you to that, especially if you're an atheist. I'd really like for you to come to that. Also,
we get to beat them.
Also, I just want to encourage you out there, whether you're a Christian watching or a non-believer, look, study the evidence and just follow the evidence where it leads.
Absolutely, I couldn't agree more.
So Jim, what are your plugs?
My name is Jim, and I watch the Atheist Edge.
Just the episodes he's in, though.
Yeah. Right. Just the episodes that I'm in. Yeah, they're really watchable. I'm the consulate director for Atheist Republic. We are the largest atheist community online. Get with us, atheistrepublic.com. We're also on Facebook. Join us up. We have local consulates in your state, in your area. We host frequent meetups. If you're looking for a sense of community, a sense of belonging, you're wanting to talk to people with similar mindsets, or you're just looking for that group where you can maintain confidentiality and you can really explore what you believe or what you don't believe, or any questions that you might have in between. So yeah, check us out.